Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 My Team series. This is episode 11 of the series. If you did miss the last episode, George Russell got the win in the Netherlands and we finished a very close P2 in the race. It was a very good battle between myself, Russell and Alonso for these places on the podium. Verstappen and Leclerc, the two title protagonists, ended up DNFing in the race, and there was a 3-car pile-up as well, which brought out the red flag. Now, looking here at our performance chart, as you can see, we're still very much down the bottom, but the gap between everyone else is very much closing up. Haas are probably the furthest away from the top 5 teams, that is. So Red Bull and Mercedes, Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren, they're all very much up there, and then everyone else is kind of all the way down the back. And we're going to do some upgrades here. We're going to try and get ourselves a pit equipment upgrade. So far during the course of the season, our pit stops have been pretty mediocre. A couple of mistakes, mainly just removing the tyres. We have had one incident where we didn't actually get the front wing off in time, so we really need to try and get those out for the rest of the season. So hopefully some fresh equipment can help us removing these issues for the rest of the season, as we're now currently doing our race pace program. At the moment, our first 2 laps have been pretty shocking, and we've actually had a rear end snap going through the second Lesmos corner, so that's really not what we've been after. But during these first couple of laps, we have been facing a couple of braking issues and rear end issues in the car, but we need to try and put that behind us now. And as we're heading around Parabolica now in our energy use program, we've had a massive snap, so this car is very unsettled, and we're actually just going to pull it into the pits, as we're going to lose a lot of time there, and we actually get a warning in spit lane for that. But we're now heading on to another attempt on this energy usage program, because we just need to try and get some of these R&D points in. We're really struggling here on upgrading the car for the rest of the season, and I don't really want to kind of start banking up the points and focus on next season, because at the moment we just have to try and get as high up in this championship as we can to try and get some more prize money. So making it through the rest of this championship is going to be very important, as we lose the rear end once again going through the second chicane. So the rear end of this car is really not happy, as we now get wide once again, and we're just going to have another snap, so we're going to have to pull it back in once more. So this is really not looking good for us, as we're now heading straight into, well, this is actually the end of our race program. We're going to do it once more again, so we're going to get the purple result, which is exactly what we're after and definitely what we needed in this practice session. And now this is our qualifying attempt, so this is just to see whereabouts in qualifying we could be. We're currently 9/10ths down, so these straight lines have not been very good to us, and we're actually projected to finish 22nd, which is definitely not where we want to be, as Sainz, Hamilton and Perez all finish in the top 3. We find ourselves P9, so if based off that soft run in the end, maybe we can just get ourselves inside the top 10 and maybe make it to Q3, but that's going to be sitting on the back of my mind now going into qualifying, knowing that we were projected to finish last. So I reckon we just need to hope for the best here. I don't think the car is really up to where we need it to be, as we're now onto our first flying lap. As you can see, we've actually got one, I can't tell which car it is, but we've got a car right up behind us, so we're going to try and block him off. It's Lewis Hamilton, the Mercedes. He's trying to get a bit of a tow coming onto the main straight, so we're going to try and block him off just a tiny little bit, but we're also on a fast lap, so we shouldn't get any penalties from that for that small blocker. But Hamilton still gets the fastest lap anyway, and we slotted into P8, so definitely not where we want to be, considering we're not even faster than the Haas cars at the moment. And now fast forwarding just a little bit, I did have to take an extra cooldown lap before going for another attempt, so we're currently P18, which is just, we're not even going to make it into Q2 at this race. So we've had to jump back into another lap, and now going through the second chicane, we've used too much of the sausage curb, just trying to maximize how much track we're going to use, and we've actually gone for a spin. So not only have we damaged the floor, I reckon that floor damage has probably unsettled the car going into the first of the Lesmo corners, and that's actually going to end our session, and we're not going to make it into Q2. We're going to be nowhere close. But Verstappen, Leclerc and Hamilton were your top 3 in the first qualifying session. As we now scroll down to the bottom, there you are, we're 21st. We were 7/10ths of a second off making it into the next session, so we were very much not in the hunt to try and get anywhere close to pole position.
At the Italian Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position, edging out Sergio Perez, who lines up P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Hamilton, Sainz, Russell, Norris, Fernando Alonso, Oscar Piastri, Ocon, Gasly, Magnussen, Bottas, Tsunoda, Joe, Albon, Stroll, Sargent, Iwasa, De Vries, Hulkenberg, and the Rainmaster. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head down trackside for today's race.
So now this race is definitely just going to be a case of trying to salvage what we can. It's going to be a very long day in the office. We've opted to go for the soft tyre to try and maximize the race start that we can get. There's a lot of stop starting, especially in the first part of the lap, so hopefully we can get the traction down and going into the more flowing section of the circuit, try and make some overtakes as we now wait for our turn to get going at the formation lap. We're just going to run through the gears, make sure there's no issues, and try and get a practice start. That start wasn't too good, so now as we're going to line it up into the pit box for this start on the softs, we're going to try and make sure we can absolutely maximize everything. Nico Hulkenberg, Nick De Vries, they're usually not too good off the start line, so we're going to have to try and make sure we get past them nice and early, and maybe send a big dive bomb into the first corner as we park it only 0.2 of a meter away as the lights now are heading out and it's lights out and we're off. Iwasa's had an absolute shocking start in this Grand Prix, so we're going to immediately get by him, and there's a big open section of road now, and we're going to try and squeeze the car in. And Alex Albon has actually moved quite late under the braking there, and we dipped a wheel onto the grass, and I'm surprised we didn't actually lock it up, and that's sent the car so deep into the corner. I didn't mean to make up all those positions, but we did, and we're going to get a little squirrely actually coming off the corner. We're going to make contact. I didn't quite see who that was that we made the contact with, but it's caused absolute chaos, and the safety car is going to come out. Well, it's a VSC at the moment, and Sargent's actually out of the race, so he must have been caught up in that, unfortunately, and it's now a full safety car. So we now look at a replay to try and work out what happened at this race start. So we've sent it in very deep after getting forced onto the grass a little bit. Now, we didn't get great traction, and then we just kind of moved across just that tiny little bit, not thinking that there was going to be another car there, and we get turned around. So now this is on board with Ocon, so maybe this will tell a bit more of the story. So he's already side by side with one of the Astons, and then there we go by on his right hand side, and sure enough, we're just going to turn across him. That's just that tiny little bit. We've gone for a spin, but I'm still yet to work out what happened to Logan Sargent. So this is on board with Lance Stroll. So this would have been the Aston Martin that's on the left-hand side of Ocon. So there's already a bit of contact there going through the second part of the chicane, and then we'll find ourselves coming across the front of him. So Stroll's done very well there to not have any contact with all. So now this is on board with Logan Sargent. So what's going to happen here? Oh, he's tried to go for a gap, and there was an Alpha Tauri in the way. That's really unfortunate from Logan. So now we're back to us. We've been given a change of strategy. So what we're going to try and do here actually is we're going to repair whatever damage we can, which would probably just be a front wing change at this rate. I don't think any of the side pods or anything like that could get changed in a pit stop, especially not considering it's not a red flag. Now we're going to go onto the hard tyre. We're going to try and see if we can't extend this hard tyre and make it last pretty much the entire race. By the time the safety car comes in, it should be about lap 4 or lap 5. And so this hard tyre is going to have to do about 22 laps, so that's even in the game, that's going to be a hefty stint on the hard tyre. So it's going to be all about maximising this tyre, and we did have a bit of a slower stop, so that wasn't too good. Luckily, we are still under safety car. As we do a bit of an order check here to see what's happened from the race start. So Verstappen, Hamilton, and Perez are your top 3 at the moment, followed by the 2 Ferraris, the Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. You find yourself George Russell in P6 and the 2 McLarens of Norris and Piastri, so both McLarens in the points. Fernando Alonso P9 and Gasly is in P10. He's rounding out the points paying positions at the moment, but that can very much change considering it's only lap 2. Yuki Tsunoda P11, followed by Bottas, Magnussen, Joe, Albon, De Vries, Hulkenberg. Our teammate Iwasa's from up in P18, so he's made up a position or 2 off the race start so far. Ocon is P19 after being caught up in the incident with myself. Same with Stroll, he's in P20. Then we're currently still trying to catch up to the back of this pack ready for the race restart. So we find ourselves now P21, and unfortunately for Logan Sargent, he was involved in that the lap 1 incident, as we now get a mean cutback. We've actually had to pull out of the throttle there. Our run going onto the main straight coming out of Parabolica was that good. We've had the back out of the throttle, but now with the power of the slipstream, we should very easily get back up to the back of Stroll to try and make some early moves. Once again, we're going to dive it down to the inside and once again make up quite a few positions actually, and we actually let off the brake so then we can try and get by Nico Hulkenberg, guys. That gap was still very much there, so lifting off the brake and then reapplying it to try and send the car a bit deeper into the braking zone. Now, having a look here at the end of the 4th lap, we're about to go into the 5th lap. This is Fernando Alonso. He's currently under attack from Pierre Gasly. Remember, Gasly did the race restart from P10, so he's already trying to make up some moves very early onto the race before DRS even gets activated, as they now head side by side down the main straight into the chicane. So this should be a pretty good battle, but we're actually going to cut ahead here because it's 3 wide between the 2 Ferraris and George Russell. There's a bit of contact there, and one of the Ferraris has actually copped a bit of damage. It looks like the end plate has come off of Charles Leclerc's car, so this is an absolute disaster for the home team. They're probably looking for a good solid double points finish here, and both the cars were looking good sitting P5 and P6, but surely Leclerc's going to have to come into the pits now. He's copped, that front wing has taken a lot of damage. You can see it there, the end plate on the left hand side is completely gone, as Norris is now getting by Charles Leclerc only half the lap later, and Leclerc is now backing up a lot of this field. Look at that train, and now they've all going to get slipstream off each other, and Charles Leclerc, considering his damage, he's actually trying to get back by Lando Norris here, but I would imagine he has to come into the pits. He has already lost 2.5 seconds to his teammate in this half a lap since the damage has occurred, and there he goes, Charles Leclerc into the pits, and we're going to take that free position as we're now eyeing up Nick de Vries. This should be a pretty easy move. No DRS just yet, but with the power of the slipstream and a bit of ERS, we should make the move around the outside, and we actually catch right up to the back of this pack, so we're going to try and send it around the outside of Alex Albon, and that was a very cheeky move indeed, but we get it done, so we end up taking 2 positions there. I wasn't planning on taking 2, but we'll take the 2, as we now have a look here at Max Verstappen. He's under attack from Lewis Hamilton, so maybe the Mercedes are actually very quick around here, so it's 2 Red Bulls versus the Mercedes, but Hamilton's locked up. Hamilton locked up going into Ascari chicane, so that's a very costly mistake, and now that's allowed Verstappen. He's going to extend the 1 second gap here, I reckon. So Verstappen's going to make himself free of the DRS from Lewis Hamilton, but now Perez is even going to get by. But Perez, crucially, has passed Hamilton before that DRS line, so I reckon Hamilton's going to get the DRS here. So Perez could very much easily lose position here from Russell, Sainz, but he's had a really good run coming out of Parabolica, so he's extended that gap just a little bit, so I reckon he should be safe going into the chicane, but it's going to be 3 wide now between the 2 Mercedes and the Ferrari, but the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz very smartly backs out of that to allow the 2 Mercedes to have a good ding-dong battle between themselves, as we now looking forward to lap 7 now. This is ourselves, and we're going to be going for a very late dive here on Zhou Guan Yu, and look at this battle pack directly in front of us. It's like 2 by 2 by 2. It is a lot of battling for these final points paying positions, and it looks like it's all being held up by the 2 McLarens based on that mini-map. So we're going to be trying to make a move here on Fernando Alonso as well, and even Kevin Magnussen, he's moved over to defend from Fernando Alonso, which has left the door open around the outside for us. So we're going to take 3 positions there with the span of only a couple of corners there, as we take full advantage of any positions that we can try and make after that terrible race start. And this is Lando Norris now. He's getting by his teammate Oscar Piastri, but Piastri's going to keep it around the outside here. So this is why the pack's being held up so much. These 2 McLarens are battling each other for P6 and P7 at the moment. It's now Lando Norris is going to pull out of the slipstream and he's going to try and go around the outside of Parabolica of his teammate. And look at that. There's the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. He's tucked up in there. This is going to be a DRS game down this main straight. And also, who's going to be latest on the brakes? As it looks like George Russell may have actually come into the pits. Someone's in the pit lane because the totem pole's going nuts. We'll work that out, who that is, out later. But the AlphaTauri there of Yuki Tsunoda had a big wobble underneath the brakes as we now look to ourselves, and we're going to do another cheeky move. We're going to try and go around the outside of Valtteri Bottas, but he very smartly shuts the door on us, so we've had to back out of that, and that's actually cost us a pretty good run to coming out of that chicane. So we've had to wait a little bit until the next DRS, and we're going to go up the inside of Valtteri Bottas as we head through Ascari chicane, and we're now right up the back of the 2 McLarens. So it actually looks like one of the Aston Martins has managed to get by these two and has escaped this battle, so the McLarens must not actually have very much pace. And we're going to try and, we had a look to see if we couldn't make it 3 wide, but we backed out of it, and that's actually going to compromise our run, so we're going to have to try and hope for some DRS and assistance here as, just look at this battle pack. This is awesome racing between ourselves and all the AIs. We now got 3 wide down the main straight, but we have managed to get by the 2 McLarens, as it is 3 wide behind, actually, for some of the lower positions. So this is turning into a very big battle pack from about P11 down to about P17, I reckon that is. And we've now caught up to the back of Yuki Tsunoda. So these hard tyres are very much coming into our hands, as these soft tyre runners are now going to be facing some tyre where we did run a bit wide coming out Parabolica, but with the aid of DRS we're going to breeze past Yuki Tsunoda, and I would imagine one of the McLarens that's Lando Norris, he's going to try and get by Tsunoda as well, and probably makes easy work of it too. But did I forget to mention that it's only lap 10, we've already got ourselves to P7, so this is an absolute wicked drive back through the field for us, as we're now on board with Zhou Guanyu, and what a slingshot move that is. He's going to get about 4 cars here. Is he going to dive it down the inside? Fernando Alonso as well. He shows a nose, but I don't think he's going to be able to get the traction to go around the outside. So I reckon Zhou made up about 3 positions there just down that main straight. So that Alfa Romeo, even without the slipstream, you saw that slingshot was very powerful. As Lando Norris just confirming that he's got by Yuki Tsunoda, as now the 2 Red Bulls are going at it. So this is a battle for the lead. Max Verstappen gets a bit of a tank slapper mid-corner, so Perez gets the better run around the outside, but Max Verstappen should actually have the DRS here. And you can see that DRS coming into play as he just powers past Sergio Perez. So this battle for the lead could go on for a while between the 2 Red Bulls. Good to see Sergio Perez back up the front in that Red Bull, and sure enough, just fast forwarding a little bit, it's now Perez trying to defend from Max Verstappen, but Verstappen's going to get by him pretty easily. And now it's another race down the main straight. So I reckon that's Perez there with the DRS, so Perez should make this a pretty easy move. So that battle is probably going to be going on for a while until the pit window opens for one of the 2 Red Bulls. As there's actually a green flag, so there's a yellow flag somewhere behind us. Unsure what that could be for. But looking forward, that is Pierre Gasly pulling to the pit. So we were kind of gaining onto Pierre Gasly as his soft tyres were falling off a bit of a cliff. But these hard tyres are proving to be quite the tyre to be on in this race. And we're going to just try and have the hope that we don't overcook these too much, because we still have to try and make them last quite a while as the 2 Red Bulls continue to battle. So this very could be the battle for the win here. Lewis Hamilton's not too far off. He's 1.3 seconds back. So if these 2 guys keep battling, Hamilton could very well play himself into the cards for the race win here, as Sergio Perez once again makes another move for the lead. And behind, that's Carlos Sainz. He's making a move on George Russell. So Carlos Sainz is trying to prove as well that this Ferrari is pretty quick around Monza as well, to the joy of the Tifosi, I'm sure of it, as he moves himself up into P4. And back on board with ourselves, we're going through the first of the Lesmos. We've got Lando Norris tucked up right behind us. So with the power of DRS, Lando Norris has actually managed to catch back up to us, and there's a bit of contact going through the second Lesmos. So we are very much now on the pace of these McLarens on these medium tyres. So I wonder if we've just may have overcooked our tyres, and they're a bit warm at the moment on our steering wheel. It looks like they're about 100 degrees. So definitely on the warmer side for the hard tyres, as now the battle between Sainz and George Russell continues. George Russell doesn't want to let this P4 go, but all this is doing is just slowing themselves up to the rest of the pack, as it seems now both Verstappen and Hamilton have now pulled into the pits. So this could be a very crucial part of the race, as now we've got Oscar Piastri looking to try and get by us. Lando Norris is going to pull into the pits, so we should get DRS to try and help us defend from our fellow Australian. But we're kind of tucked here on the outside, so it's going to be a bit of an awkward spot. We're kind of give Piastri the squeeze to the inside a bit more to try and tighten up his line. So we're going to hang it around the outside and give us the inside for turn 2 and try and get the better traction down, which we just do. So these medium tyres for the starters on the mediums must be starting to fall off a cliff now. And look at Lewis Hamilton. He's got so much pace on these fresh softs. He makes easy work of the Lance Strollers. Now our pit window has now come open, and Mark wants us to now jump onto the medium tyres, but we found ourselves in the lead. There is 12 laps to go. We're on hard tyres. I reckon we might be able to make these last to the end. We do have 6 seconds over Max Verstappen, and looking only a little bit further on, that has quickly turned into only 5, as we now do a little bit of an order check here. So it's ourselves from Verstappen and Hamilton. Remember, we have not done our pit stop yet. We did pit on lap 1, which does count, but we're trying to make these hards go to the end. So effectively, according to the rest of the field, we're doing a last to first challenge, no pit stop. Zhou Guan Yu, P11. So Yuki Tsunoda is also just managing to hold on to this. He's got 2 seconds over Zhou Guan Yu. Piastri finds himself P12 after his pit stop. Alonso, Albon, Magnussen, Ocon, De Vries, Bottas, Stroll, Hulkenberg, and now Wasser is last on the road. So he's definitely not proving to ourselves that he should be kept on the roster for next season. So I've been thinking that we might need to start looking elsewhere to try and get ourselves a fresh driver for the next season. I want to try and give Wasser every chance possible for him to prove himself. I reckon his goal is, if he can score a point, I reckon that's enough for me for him to stay on for the next season, because he is a developing driver. He's only a rookie. We're not going to axe him after mid-season, or we're going to at least give him a chance to try and improve. So hopefully he can make up some positions in the race, or even in the coming races, to try and get himself some points, as George Russell is now battling Charles Leclerc. So George Russell is definitely battling the 2 Ferraris. I reckon that's about where his pace lays, as Charles Leclerc is now coming into the pit. So I reckon Ferrari has botched this strategy, because Leclerc could have very well boxed for a set of hard tyres and gone to the end, because we pit on lap 1 and we're going to the end on these hard tyres. Charles Leclerc boxed about lap 7, I reckon it was. So he could have extremely easily made it to the end on those hard tyres. But we've now got Max Verstappen within DRS. He's half a second behind us, and we are going to have to defend like hell. We have got 10 laps to try and defend this for the win. I highly doubt we're going to be able to defend for 10 laps against Max Verstappen, especially with the DRS. So we might be able to let him by and get the DRS off him and try and stay with him, as there's a little bit of contact actually in the braking zone. So I gave him a little bit of a squeeze, and Max Verstappen decided to make a bit of wheel-to-wheel contact. But this Red Bull, so good with DRS, so I reckon he's going to absolutely breeze past us. So we're going to have to try, and in the middle sectors, try and stay with him and make sure we stay within his DRS, so then we can try and protect ourselves from Lewis Hamilton, who's just made the overtake on Sergio Perez for P3. So we now are on board with George Russell. He's looking to get by Sergio Perez as well. So Sergio's pace on these hard tyres is not looking good. And Perez kind of gives George Russell a little bit of a squeeze. But it's pretty interesting to know that Sergio Perez has really dropped off on these hard tyres. And as it turns out, Carlos Sainz is even in this battle too, so he's going to try and get the both of them, and he will. Carlos Sainz is going to get 2 for 1 down the main straight. I did not see Carlos Sainz being in that battle. That actually caught me very much off guard. So now, looking between the 2 McLarens, even after the pit stop phase, they have not been able to separate each other. So they're going to continue on their battle. It is Piastri going by Lando Norris. Lando Norris around the outside, but it is Piastri who's going to get the job done around, on the inside of Parabolica. As we now go back to our POV, Max Verstappen's driven off. He's 4 seconds up the road. The win is well and truly out of question, but we've now got Lewis Hamilton to deal with. So we've got 7 laps. 7 laps. Can we defend Lewis Hamilton for 7 laps? Once again, I don't think so, but we're going to give it our best effort to try and defend this second place finish. If not, we've got 1.3 seconds to Carlos Sainz who's behind Lewis Hamilton, so we might be able to just defend a P3. So we're not going to battle Lewis Hamilton through here, or else then we're just going to end up being caught by Carlos Sainz super quickly. And by super quickly, I mean the next lap. The next lap, Carlos Sainz is right behind us. He's got DRS. We've only just managed to keep DRS from Lewis Hamilton, but in the end, that Ferrari has got so much pace. Carlos Sainz, and he's showing it too. He's currently got the fastest lap. So we're going to try and keep it around the outside. We're going to try and defend this final podium position. But you can see there on our MFD, our tyres are absolutely shot. The wear marker has popped up. So now we're pretty much a sitting duck. So I'm going to very much try and defend this third position for as long as we can. And George Russell's just going to drive around the outside of us. And he's actually trying to cut back towards the apex by the looks of it. Because I didn't really drift too wide too much there. I kind of kept it a little bit tucked. Maybe it'll drift a tiny little bit wide. But it was a bit of an awkward side-to-side, wheel-to-wheel contact with George Russell, which kind of sent George Russell into a bit of a tank slapper. So we only just managed to maintain P3 in that moment. As behind us, Carlos Sainz is now trying to make the move on George Russell, and he makes it very successfully. It kind of makes that actually look pretty easy, as that Ferrari's got plenty of pace, and now he is already caught up to the back of us. We've already lost 5.5 seconds to Lewis Hamilton, so the top two are well and truly gone in this battle. As now Carlos Sainz is going to very easily go up the inside of us, and I'm now just trying to recall if I managed to let him go by before DRS. We're going to deploy a little bit of ERS. We're going to get an absolute killer slingshot around the Spaniard, and looking right behind us, there's George Russell as well, so George Russell may get the both of us here, but we're going to try and keep it around the outside of the both of them, but we run a bit deep, and we've made a little bit of contact with George Russell, which has actually given us the tiniest little bit of front wing damage, so hopefully we don't feel that too much, especially going through corners like Ascari and Parabolica. Hopefully that doesn't affect us too much as we now run side by side with George Russell going into the second lot of chicanes around Monza, and we're going to try and get ourselves a bit of a cutback here, but we get a bit of snap as these tyres, the tyre wear icon is red, so these tyres are absolute cooked. As now Sergio Perez, we were saying before, doesn't look like he's got any pace on these hard tyres, and he really doesn't, as we make contact going into the braking zone, which has just let Perez through. So we were just saying before, Perez doesn't have any pace on these hard tyres, and we're struggling that much. Perez has got by us, so we are now really much in struggle town, as now Pierre Gasly is looking to make a move. We go defensive on the inside, and we're going to make a send back up the inside to try and defend this P6 position, and Pierre Gasly is actually going to make a little bit of contact with us. I shouldn't expect him to come into the pits, since it's only the second to last lap, going on to the last lap now, but fast forwarding, you wouldn't believe it, Pierre Gasly is popping into the pits. I do not know what he is doing. He is just thrown away easy points. That is a solid amount of points for Alpine. He's just thrown it away. And now, this is back on our POV. Our tyres are very, very dead. Nearly 80% on the rear. So we are very much in puncture territory, as it's about 70% where you start getting increased rates for punctures. But we should be pretty safe here in P6. We've got 3 seconds in front of us and 3 seconds behind us. And Stroll's actually out of the race, so he's come so close, but yet so far to finishing this Grand Prix. But all the eyes now, it's on Max Verstappen. He's going to win the Italian Grand Prix here in Monza. Lewis Hamilton's going to come close to a win. He's only just over a second behind in P2. But ourselves, we're going to go through the yellow flag. That's Lance Stroll. He's there on the left. He's pulled off to the side. And we're going to come through for a P6 in the end. So a very good drive in the end. We qualified, I think it was like P18. Had our lap 1 incident, if you do remember. Dropped ourselves to last. And we've driven our way through the field to P6 after pitting on lap 1. It's another win for Max Verstappen this season in our MyTeam series, and this win puts him up to 41 race wins in his career, which now has put him now equal 5th place in the all-time wins list with Ayrton Senna. So Max Verstappen definitely making a name for himself as he's on his way to his 3rd World Championship. This win should very well put one hand on the trophy, as he's already had a bit of a lead going to this race, and now with another win, this championship should be well and truly his. I don't think mathematically he's quite got it yet, but he's not too far off claiming this championship. But as we know in Formula 1, anything can happen. I think off the top of my head, just by doing some quick math from what his points tally was coming into this race, he should be on at about 80 points over the top of Lewis Hamilton. So Lewis Hamilton is still very much in title contention. He just needs Max Verstappen to DNF pretty much every race the rest of the season and for Lewis to win. As we now have a look at the race results So George Russell finishes P4 ahead of Sergio Perez. Ourselves in P6. Oscar Piastri does end up finishing ahead of his teammate Lando Norris for P7 and P8. Ocon P9. So Alpine do get a couple of points in the end after Gasly comes into the pits very late into the race, and Charles Leclerc takes the final points paying position in this race. And now looking at the the driver's standings, and look at that, it's 81 points between Verstappen and Hamilton. So the championship's still very much on, but Max Verstappen's pretty much got that one hand on the trophy, and as we've actually leapfrog to Fernando Alonso for P7 in the championship. So we're on 69 points versus his 66. So very much a battle there between ourselves and Alonso. And Brabham is now P5 in the standings. So I reckon Aston Martin's now a little bit of out of reach, but we are in a very nice battle between McLaren as we're actually equal on points as we now jump straight back to our HQ, and we're on to some upgrades immediately. We're looking here at upgrading the fitness center to try and improve our second driver. As I said, Iwasa really needs to improve himself. He wants to maintain his position in this team, and we're going to be looking at upgrading our monocoque structure as well to try and improve our chassis department here. But we're going to fast forward here through our calendar, and we're going to go into a little bit of a season break. There's a bit of a gap between Italy and Qatar in real life, so the game's added in another season break for us. So we're going to do a little bit of a shutdown and give the team a bit of a break. This is very much needed. It's been a big couple of races. So hopefully we can come back into this next section of the season much better. And as I was talking, we did do a simulator upgrade as well, and we've also been asked who's going to be our rival. We're going to select Carlos Sainz. I reckon Sergio Perez in that Red Bull is going to be a bit out of reach for us to be battling with, but Carlos Sainz in that Ferrari we should be able to have some good battles with, as Max has actually told us that Red Bull's going to give us some more parts for our engine. So hopefully our straight line speed and engine power can be improved a little bit here and try and help us move ourselves from last in the a battle for R&D, because our car is currently rated as the worst car. And that will do it for this episode. So if you did enjoy this video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode, which will be around Qatar. See ya.